We have got to change the regime in Iran one way or another, whether we do it or whether we allow the Israelis to do it. All they're doing is they are buying time as much as they can leading up to the midterm election. And they're hoping to buy time and mislead the United States all the way until Trump leaves office. And then they can breathe a sigh of relief.
Brigitte, the president has claimed that the Iranians say one thing at the negotiating table and say something completely contradictory to deliver to their base back at home. Is that what you're seeing play out right here in real time?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. And I want to follow up on that's why the Iranians are speaking to their own base. They will come to the table, they will negotiate, but not because they are interested in peace. They are interested in dragging the process. As long as we have this current regime, and we know that there is a big division within the Iranian leadership right now, but what we do know 100% is the IRGC are still in control and they still despise the United States. We are still the great Satan, and they're not going to want to have peace with the great Satan. We've been the great Satan since 1979. So all they're doing is they are buying time as much as they can leading up to the midterm election, and they're hoping to buy time and mislead the United States all the way until Trump leaves office, and then they can breathe a sigh of relief. I hope that President Trump is savvy enough and surrounded by wise people enough to convince him that before he leaves office, we have got to change the regime in Iran one way or another, whether we do it or whether we allow the Israelis to do it, who actually came to the U.S. and the beginning of the war with a plan to change the regime. That's exactly why they took out the leadership in the first day of the bombing.
Yeah.
America didn't back then, but I think we're going to get to the point where the only way we're going to have peace with Iran is basically by changing those people opposing peace right now in Iran.
Well, what the president of Iran is saying this morning, Masoud Pezeshkian, posting this: mutual understanding is a two-way street. If the American side adheres to the agreement, we will also fulfill our commitments. Our approach to unreasonable saber rattling and baseless threats is to rely on rationality and human dignity in decision making, and to defend decisively and fearlessly when it comes time to act. So much about that statement, Brigitte, struck me, but certainly the human dignity component while they're murdering their own people.
They are brilliant in messaging. I mean, this is amazing the way they can talk with a straight face like that. Look, they want the MOU. They want to enforce the MOU. The MOU basically forces Israel and Lebanon to basically stop fighting. It forces Israel to withdraw out of Lebanon. It forces Hezbollah to stay in Lebanon, despite that the Lebanese government does not want them there. But Israel did something so brilliant yesterday. You know, they went around the United States and signed their own peace understanding with Lebanon, where the Lebanese government agreed with Israel to stay in Lebanese territories to help them control Hezbollah, because the Lebanese government knows that only Israel can do that. Well, that's against the interest of Iran, and that's exactly why Iran brought the Lebanon issue into the MOU. So right now, the Iranians are demanding the enforcement of the MOU. Well, you know what? That ship has sailed, because Israel and Lebanon right now signed their own deal. They are working together. It doesn't matter what Iran wants. And that can pose a little problem to the United States, actually.
Iran announced that $6 billion of assets would be unfrozen. It's been frozen since October 7th. And apparently it's going to be, according to their accounts, again, in Iranian state-run media, it'll be made available through the Qataris, representatives there. How are the Qataris involved in this? How do those assets become unfrozen, Brigitte? And why would the U.S. tolerate it? I mean, the president has said not 10 cents would be unfrozen until the MOU becomes the standing document and that it's abided by. How will this work? How do you see it playing out?
Well, this is the cat and mouse game. You do this, and then we'll do this. If you abide by this, we will release that. And that's what's happening right now. And that's basically why we have the MOU for 60 days for this specific negotiations. The Iranians need a breather, so they need that money. And this is why they are leading the United States. You know, this pause is actually good for them because they need access to that money. The United States needs to bring the gas prices down leading up to the midterm. So they both want this cat and mouse game to work for the next 60 days. Now, the way the Qataris are involved, the Qataris have always cozied up with Iran to the chagrin of the rest of the Gulf states. They are unhappy with Qatar. And that's exactly why Qatar wasn't bombarded that much by Iran, while the rest of the Arabic countries received a lot from Iran, because the Qataris work to deal with Iran. You protect us, we'll work with you. So now
Wow.
supposedly the money is supposed to be unfrozen by the United States in the way where the Iranians buy from our farmers food so they can feed their population. Well, the Iranian people did not die, 40, 50,000 of them, so they can get corn. They didn't die for corn. The people could care less about that. The regime wants that. And if that happens, then they're going to take that food, give a little bit of to the leadership, and then sell the rest of it on the black market and take the profit from that food to finance their weaponry. That's what Iran is aiming for, and that's why they want this unfrozen asset.